My lesson here is titled The Spirit and Laws. And I'm just thinking here, now that I'm just looking everywhere in life, just considering all kinds of different stuff. Um, because, having grown up in the Christian church and coming to find out that that was a fake and that Christianity was built out of ancient Egyptian and basically ancient African ideas and spirituality. So basically it is built of the gods as well of Egypt. Even though Apostle Paul said the Old Testament is written for our learning, our understanding, and so then the Old Testament that the New Testament uses says do not do as the Egyptians. So how can Christianity build itself on the gods of Egypt when the Old Testament that it uses says don't do as the Egyptians? So that's a fake. Then the understandings and the teachings in the Torah community worldwide, the larger Torah religion, whether you're black or white, doesn't also make full sense. Now, I'm saying that if the Creator gave this book, the Torah, then I'm willing to follow it if I can just see that He gave it. But there is not enough to show that He did. Now, if He gave it and we just have a corrupted form, how can we know how much is the corrupted part and how much is the real good part that He gave? So until we can verify that, people should be careful to think for themselves and make your better decisions, being honest with yourself and what you see around you in life and in history. And, because there's just a lot of skillful deception in the world, right? A whole lot of skillful deception. And so you just got to really, really be careful. And we know that from ancient times, kings and kingdoms have used a lot of deception or a lot of power to overpower their subjects to do what they want, to believe what they want, to worship the gods that they wanted them to worship. Just like Babylon did that, and we have the whole Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego thing. It's like you're just being forced sometimes to just worship what the king wants. So how do you know that the Torah was not set up like that, to force people to believe these certain things that are in the Torah? Which would then mean God did not give it, if that's the way it happened. So we don't know and I don't know. So until I can see that God rumbling again at Sinai or at the closest mountain to me that I can reach and see for myself, then, let Him rumble in my house. Let there be thick smoke and so on, and fire and lightning and so on going on in my house or in my car or down the street I'm walking, so I can see it and everybody is around me, and everybody should be desiring that kind of revelation from the Creator as well. But being short of all of that, I'm thinking today of the Spirit and laws. Because we're told that we're given 613 commandments, and you don't normally know that until you get into Torah studies. Because if you're a Christian, you just don't normally know of 613 commandments. I never heard that I can recall of 613 commandments. And I went to Bible college in the Christian church. Excuse me. And they taught us from the Old Testament as well, but mainly it was New Testament. But, they had to dip into the Old Testament sometimes, but they just call it the Pentateuch, the Greek way of calling the Torah. But in all of that, I still don't remember 613 commandments. And I was a guy that was learning to preach, being groomed to preach, and I was an assistant pastor twice. I was young, right, Bible school days, and we'd travel around from city to city, church to church, preaching and so on. And, in those days, I was much younger, and people always wanted to hear me preach, and I was putting on myself a lot, but people thought much of me and that I got a future where preaching is concerned and so on. Yet, with all of that, and the lots of reading I did and so on, I never heard of, I never knew of 613 commandments. Did I hear of 613 commandments? Maybe I did. I just can't remember. But the point, though, is if I heard of it, it must not have been that much. Or if I read of it, it must not have been that much. Because why wouldn't I remember? But now, having passed through the Hebrew Israelite teachings, and listening to a lot of brothers and sisters teach from the Hebrew community, and listening to a lot of rabbis as well teach, I hear 613 commandments all the time. It's like you just can't, once you pass through this Torah teaching, you cannot forget that there is this number 613 in relation to the amount of commandments. So, I'm just saying, if the 613 laws were given by the greatest spirit of all of us, the Creator, sometimes called the God of Israel, if he really gave that 613 commandments, why is it that most people on earth don't know about it? I mean, if you are a Torah-based teacher, whether you're black or white, because when it comes to this, it doesn't matter to me. I don't draw any line between black and white as far as talking about this 613, right? Because if you are given these commandments, why is it that the earth does not know more about these 613? You're expected to know more of the road laws, building codes if you're into building, and whatever else you're into, you're expected to know that kind of stuff. If you're flying a spacecraft for NASA trying to go up 200 kilometers above the Earth surface, then you're expected to know certain laws of aerodynamics and whatever other codes that they have to know to operate that craft and measure their stuff up there when they're measuring stuff, and how whatever functions. You're flying an airplane, you must know about the laws of aerodynamics, jet propulsion, and so on. You know all that kind of stuff. Same if you're at sea a lot, you're dealing with traveling in ships as a captain, or you're building ships and so on. You got to know all kinds of laws and rules that deal with that kind of stuff. But you have the responsibility of representing the greatest being in the universe. And you've got 613 commandments, and most of the earth don't know about it. Is it not your responsibility? Is it not your responsibility to spread that to the earth? But people mostly only know about it if they just happen to have a need to look into things, Torah. And you can come very close to the Torah by just being in the New Testament and never actually find out about it, because you will not go right before Matthew to Malachi and the other books to look into it heavily. And so I find there a grave dishonesty in the Torah community, where their stuff is not put on blast except in their own communities. And when it comes to Judaism, that's worse, because I don't see them spreading the message worldwide in a crazy kind of way. You should be taking the world by storm. Nobody should be able to shut you up. I just don't understand that. And so when I think of the laws, then 613 laws that are so necessary for people to please, quote unquote, God, I just don't understand it. Because if you are building a chair or a table, and you need to set certain, whatever you're building, you need to set certain pieces of wood, let's say upon two other parts of the wood that's already there, but the whole thing is not anchored as yet. You're considering gravity, that if it's not set properly and it's leaning too much, it might fall and things like that, and you got to balance it properly and so on, until you reach for the glue and the nail to secure it. But you expect that once you secure it with the glue and the nails, that it's not going to fall just like that anymore. Because the adhesive power of the glue is going to keep it in place, plus the nail, once you put the nails in, the structure is going to be secure, so it's just not going to fall that easily, especially if someone should bump it. So then the laws there will say, like this thing is now secure. It's being held together by the glue and the nails. So whatever laws there of gravity and so on won't act on it in the same way anymore to let it fall if you should bump it. It's going to be secure, sturdy, and you just expect everything to just continue normally. You can use the desk or the chair, whatever it was you were building. So the law of gravity, for example, and I understand that people are wondering now if gravity is real or not. So it's going to be interesting in the next few years to see what comes out of all that. But for now, the law of gravity would be there, but it's only going to be important or a great concern prior to the adhesive power of the glue being used and the nail as well. So is it that the whole universe is just like this, where a Torah person will tell you that the laws existed before creation, but it might just be that the laws are there, possibly, I'm just considering now, to create stuff, but they're not something to be afraid of, and they're there to create the earth, the world, everything we see. But once they're there, then for the most part, they're not a concern anymore, really. Because the glue and the nails that hold life together and creation together have already been set in place. So how important would all these laws be, after the fact, after creation? Like how so important? So if you also consider that, I understand there are other problems with that as well too, because then the argument is going to be made, but the laws are there to sustain. But in all cases, that could be argued that is it going to be needed in all cases. But I just want people to think some of these things too, to give a little bit more attention to them while you're studying the Torah. I'm not pulling you away from your Torah. It's still a nice book, but you understand that even a pretty person who just died still looks nice right away. So you got to just think things too in life, right? Because there's a lot of deception out there in the world. And I've already identified a number of things, and I'm making a list of the number of things that, as far as I can tell, take the Torah down. The Torah is not perfect. It cannot be perfect. And the mere fact that people are telling you that it has been corrupted and people have shown that, then this cannot be of God. Maybe there is one of God and we lost it somewhere. But until we can verify that and see this up, and you see, every time they find these scrolls, there are always some dusty, dirty, ripped up old stuff. Like, you're telling me nobody who received the Torah from thousands of years ago has any more respect for it than to keep it like this? And you say, well, they were under threat, it was wartime and so on, they had to hide it and run and whatever, and they're old. So you're telling me the Creator gave the one book of 613 laws upon which all creation must rest, and life itself must function based on this, such as these same laws again are going to be given at Jerusalem, like Micah 4 verse 2 and Isaiah 2 and 3, somewhere there. And you're telling me the Creator gave all this, and He just allows wars and hatred and so on to just damage the book like that? So neither the Creator nor you, the Torah person or priest or scribe, has any power or consideration or respect for the book. The Creator doesn't have any respect for His own book either. If you printed a book, you want that book to be kept alive nice. If you are running a government in a country and you make a constitution and it's there for use for the country to continue to flourish, thrive, and move on, you're going to make sure that book is all right. The constitution is available to all and it's readable. And so you're going to keep it nice, and if anything is going to get old after a while, you're going to reprint it and make sure it's nice. The Creator is not affected by war the same way the scribe is or the priest is. But the Creator does not make sure the book is kept intact, nice and neat, looking brand new, to show the glory and the splendor of His nice new book. Instead of that, you find an old, dusty, rusty almost looking book, stinking, smelling like it's been in some muggy water with algae smell on it from whatever. It's like it's just, and it's ripped up. It looks like it's been burnt up and so on, edges ripped up, and you have to turn the pages carefully to see what's there to separate them. They're sticking together, all kinds of stuff. How does the creator have any respect for his book by allowing it to be treated like that, and then expect you to have respect for his laws and have respect for him and have respect for his scribes and have respect for his priests? This is garbage thinking, people. It's garbage teaching. Something is wrong with that. You want your car to look fine. You get a small nick on it. You try to touch it up quickly with some touch-up paint. And if you get it banged up, as soon as you get the money, you go and you fix that right away. Something's going wrong with the engine, a funny sound, you fix it. You don't want to get broken down and so on. But the creator has his book dragged in the dirt, hiding in caves and so on. Bedouin boys finding this stuff abandoned like that. And just it dusty, dirty, everything. And then somebody takes it and glorifies it by putting it in a museum on the glass case and so on, and you can't touch it and whatever. Yet the elements have already touched it and had its way with it for thousands of years. So the creator didn't really give too much of a care about it, and nobody was able to. And so it's in this dilapidated, dirty condition. And I'm not being mean, this is just the facts of what the scrolls look like. And it's dirty, it's messy, it's whatever. And you glorify a dirty, messy looking book and say that we should find purity from the words that it teaches. The words that you can make out anyway. The book itself should look pure and clean and nice and well done, well put together and so on, as a reflection of it coming from the purity of the creator. And that will point to the purity you are supposed to have in your heart and the purity of the white garments the priests used to wear. Hello. See, don't mess with me. Like, I might have a whole lot more studying to do on these matters, but I'm telling you, if you're just using Torah concepts and all these strange esoteric concepts to prove this and that, you got to use these concepts as well to challenge the Torah, because something is wrong with it. Give us the real book from God so that we can know the truth, if there is any truth in it all. Alright? So the laws, the Spirit and the laws, if the Spirit or if the Most High is giving laws, why do we have to encounter all of these things on our way to searching and finding the truth? Because maybe there is no truth like that. And all these laws are there just to keep you bound in one way or another. You turn to the left, 10 commandments get you. You turn to the right, 5 more commandments hit you. You try to go forward again, 20 commandments are there to corner you everywhere you go. Yet you say the Torah is there to make you free. It looks to me like a trap. It looks to me like a trap. The best laws are the ones that just function and allow people to just live their life free and so on, and you just it just flows, you just go. Those are the best laws. Like the trees that grow because of whatever laws are built into the creation of them, the tree just grows every day, and when the nice breeze comes, it just moves left and right, and the nice breeze, it just moves and so on. But when stronger laws come, might I say laws that make a very strong wind come, like in a hurricane, now the tree is blowing like very, very hard left and right, like it's going to break, and sometimes the trees will break. Now that is destructive. And you don't think that that is the best condition for the tree. The best condition is when the tree can just enjoy its life, if I can put it that way. The best laws for you are when you can live your life. And when some tragedy or bad stuff happens in life, I guess you just got to take that the best way you can, find as much support as you can to get through it and so on. But laws shouldn't be there to just destroy you. You should be able to climb a tree without worrying that gravity is going to kill you by making you fall from it. And I look at the Torah laws like that. Right? Now, a little part of that might be unfair, because sometimes you keep these Torah laws and you don't feel constrained and so on. But something is just wrong in general with the whole thing. Something is just wrong in general. And notice that I have not yet met one person on earth who can keep these Torah laws. Not one. Even just the basic Sabbath. Yeah, people say they keep the Sabbath a lot, but you know what? Most of the Torah teachers that I have heard, even in the black community, they go on about how they keep the laws now, yeah. But they told you in their early days, when you go back and listen to some of their older stuff, that they were buying stuff on the Sabbath and they had to work on the Sabbath and so on. And that's just the truth. Even just to teach on the street, they were buying coffee and buying whatever. You're still buying on the Sabbath. And you're causing someone else to work to provide you that store opening for you to buy that coffee. Or buy that lunch while you're teaching the Sabbath. You see that? Now if someone wants to get upset with you, why don't they say, well, why didn't you bring your lunch? You see that? You're teaching the righteous word of God and telling people out there to keep the Sabbath, but you were buying a coffee because it was cold out there in winter, while you were teaching people to keep the Sabbath. Something is seriously wrong with this. It doesn't work right. The Spirit made the physical body, but the body is trying to find freedom. A man in this world is trying to find freedom. So the Spirit made all these laws, you tell me, and the Spirit itself is free because the Creator is free, but then He makes a body that is confined, and you find that inside you are searching for freedom. If you have this innate part of you that's searching for freedom, that's somehow communicating to me that even though we're in a body, something inside of us does not believe in the limitations and the confines of this body. That's why people are meditating, trying to find ways to escape the body, trying to find ways to live longer than we're told that we're supposed to live, 70. So somehow the laws of the Spirit coming from the Creator, who himself or itself is free, made this body, but the body itself knows while it's thinking, or something inside the body that we call our spirit or inner person, whatever we want to call it, something inside of us is saying, I must be free. So existence on earth, our existence is telling us freedom is possible, so we never stop searching for it, and freedom is more desirable than the limitations of laws and of this physical confinement of this body, because we believe we should be as free as the Creator. And wouldn't that be a better reflection of the Creator if those who He made are free the way that He is free? Now that is a better law, if the Creator would say, thou shalt be free, because that is the true reflection of how I myself live as the Creator.